We still got to talk about this inflation issue. Is it real? Is it not? Yellen says that inflation is all because of COVID. Well, let's get into that shit because that's fucking insane. We're going to actually start with inflation. I want to ask every single one of you before I announce my two guests here, is inflation a hidden tax? I want you to think about that. And just so everybody knows, I'm joined with my partner in crime, Stephen Nagy. We call him Snaggy. And we've got a special guest on today who's a great contributor to this show, always commenting, always showing up. Ben, what's up, buddy?
How you doing, Chris?
Doing good, man. Doing good. And we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. So, Ben, let's start with you. What is inflation?
Inflation, right? Rising prices.
But why? Why do prices go up?
Well, lots of reasons. Low supply.
Okay.
Increased demand.
Yeah.
Some people say increased money supply, but if people aren't spending their money, then you can't have inflation.
That's a good point. Yeah. People don't spend money, then, hey, inflation's not going anywhere. That's a good point. Stephen, what do you got to say about inflation?
Listen, man, I brought this subject up today. We've been talking a lot about inflation because it's all over the news. The Fed is talking about it. The president is talking about it. Congress is talking about it. We're passing $1.2 trillion bills and $1.9 trillion bills and trillions of dollars being printed. And we're being told by the talking heads on media.
Money's just dropping out of the sky.
We're being told that none of this printing of money and spending of trillions of dollars is going to affect inflation at all. How the hell is that popular? We have people like Jim Cramer telling us that. We have people, it's nuts. So I wanted to bring it up. And I got into a heated debate last week with a guy about inflation being a hidden tax. And he was adamant that inflation is not a tax. But let's think about that for a minute. And that's what I wanted to start off with today, because that's bullshit if you ask me. Inflation is nothing but a hidden tax, especially on the middle class, the very people that we are supposed to be fighting for and helping, right? So that's what I want to talk to you and get your opinion on this morning, Chris, to start things off.
Well, I mean, anyone that doesn't see inflation as a hidden tax has obviously not lived in this country, or actually probably not from this fucking planet, because of course it's a hidden tax. Who drives inflation? Government policy. When they keep interest rates extremely low, like they are right now, and there's nothing they can really do about that because they've got themselves backed into a corner, they keep printing more money, which increases the money supply, gives everybody extra money, which I think we have all seen. COVID was the big, I don't want to call it an excuse because it's pretty freaking real. Any of you that haven't had it yet, believe me, if you don't think it's real, get it and you'll realize how real it is. But, we've all lost people to it. And that has given the government the ultimate hall pass to go out there and print money, which has then pumped money into the system. And also COVID did a unique thing. We all got locked into our houses for a very long period of time, which then made us start doing what? Well, saving some money, paying off debt because we couldn't go out and spend it at the clubs or spend it at the restaurants. And we all of a sudden started loving buying shit on Amazon. But then there became another problem because of COVID. Employers could not hire people. They couldn't get people to help with the production of goods and services that everybody was buying. And now you got this damn backed up thing out in the harbor. And I was in Huntington Beach a couple months ago for a mastermind, and literally ships for days out in the harbor, out in the ocean, just sitting there parked. That's where all your goods are. They can't even get them. It's created massive supply and demand things. And a lot of people want to blame it on that, but it is not that. The government uses inflation as a hidden tax. You just don't know it. All of you just think that the price of goods goes up, okay? That you all think that the price just goes up on things because of supply and demand. Now, that's a piece of it, but that isn't the whole piece, because if you really were to look at inflation, and I did this back a while ago, and I'm just going to pop it up here since this is a topic that we need to discuss right here. 1913, when the tax code was written, okay? Also, when the Fed was created, $100 had buying power of $100. Fast forward to 2019. For any of you that can see that, How much buying power does that same $100 from 1913 have? $3.87. Look it up, folks. You don't think that's a hidden tax? Of course it is. It's one of the biggest reasons and one of the biggest things that erodes your wealth. So believe me, if any of you think that inflation is simply supply and demand, you are missing the big picture. So inflation is and always has been a hidden tax. Now, Ben, do you got anything to say on that?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to point out, like cryptocurrency. The great thing about cryptocurrency is that it's deflationary. There's only, I believe, 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be in circulation. And with, the money that we use, they just print it and print it and print it. And yeah, so like I looked at Bitcoin in 2015. I didn't actually buy any. I wish I looked at a graph of it because I think it was $1,000 in 2013, and it was down to 200 in 2015. And I was like, I don't want to buy this thing that's literally like nothing. What am I actually buying? But I finally did get into it. I believe it was 2017, around $4,000, and like within a year it hit 10,000. And at that point, I was like, okay, I'm out. I don't think it can go any higher than this. And then it doubled in 2 weeks from 10 to 20, and then crashed.
Well said. And everybody here on TikTok was getting all mad because I didn't invert my screen. My goodness, it's whoa.
I can't miss anything.
Whoa,
But
flip
Chris,
your screen in all caps. It's like, wow. All right, guys. I flipped the screen for your sorry asses. All right.
Let me add this.
Yeah.
Chris. Let me just ask this question, right? First off, what is a tax, right? So a tax is something people pay to the government so the government can then take that money and use it to provide services or goods or whatever back to the people, right? So if the government wants to increase the taxes, they can say, okay, you can simply pay a percentage more, a percentage point or more, however much more than what you're already paying us through direct taxes. Or let me just ask this question. If everything we are currently paying for, all goods, go to the grocery store, all of your food, all of your gas, what do you do when you go to the grocery store? If you spend $200 worth of groceries, do you give them $200 or do you give them $212 because there's a 6% tax on goods in the state, right? So you're paying taxes there. So if the price that you were paying at the grocery store last year was $100 and the price now this year is $200 for those exact same goods, you now essentially doubled the taxes that you're giving to the government for the exact same goods. And it's like that across the board. Look at housing. Okay, housing is up 30, 40, 60% in some parts of the country over the last couple of years. Well, what do we pay to live in the homes that we live in? We pay property taxes. What are property taxes based on? The value of that home. So if the value of that home goes up 50%, what happens to the property taxes you're paying? They go up tremendously. So you're giving the government more money for the exact same thing. So how the hell is inflation not a hidden tax, people?
Hell yeah.
I wanted to add one more thing.
Hold on, I had to get the clapping machine out here. That was pretty good. All right, Ben, hit it up, man.
So if you look at the car market, that's pretty insane. I work at a dealership, and we have, I looked at the back lot, and this is like the biggest dealership in Western New York, and there's no cars. And I asked one of the managers, I was like, how many new cars do you have? Like 15? He's like, we have 9. 9 new cars at one of the biggest dealerships. We had like 200, 300 earlier in the year. We only have 9 new cars. And you should see the sticker prices on some of these used cars. I saw a Audi A4. I looked at the sticker price before I knew it was an A4. It was $37,000. For a 2018. So I was like, okay, this has got to be like an S4, right? No, it was an A4. I looked at the buyer's guide.
They don't even sell for that much money brand new a year ago.
Yeah. And listen to this. I bought my wife a Hyundai Kona last year as a 2020. The sticker price was $22,000. And we wanted to get something bigger. We just had our first kid, and it was just too small. So we traded it in for $19,000. And some of these cars that people are trading in,
awesome.
they're giving them like this, they're paying trade in for what they paid like a year ago. This car has 11,000 miles on it. It's a 2020. It's a year old, and we almost got the sticker price. So you're seeing cars actually appreciate. I know people who are selling their car for more than they paid for it.
Yeah, I just did it, man. Ben, I got a G-Wagon, and I literally just sold my G-Wagon for more than what I paid for it, and I drove it free for a year and a half. I actually made 10 grand on this truck, and I drove it free for a year and a half. That's the only time in history that can ever happen. It doesn't matter if it's a G-Wagon, a Hyundai, a Chevy. It doesn't make a difference. Right. I want to comment on, somebody here on TikTok said something that I really wanted to bring out. YBZZ1 is his name, or his little tag there. He said, well, it's driven by supply and demand. He's talking about inflation being driven by supply and demand. But the Fed and the government get to control supply and demand. That is a really good way to say it, man. That is bravo to that, man. That's a great way to say that. And then we got a bunch of other things going up. But yeah, I mean, we can look at cars, we can look at gas, we can look at groceries. The big thing you got to look at is all of this inflationary pressure is not going away. Your dollars that you make today are not going to, they're worth the most today. Tomorrow, they're worth less. The week after, they're worth less. A year later, they're worth less. You got to understand this is a hidden tax. It's not going away. It's been around since the Fed and the tax code was created in 1913. Study history, read the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. Play the video. This video is badass. And for all of you TikTokers, I'm actually going to do you a solid and show the video. Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe inflation is our friend. We've heard that, right? So let's hear what Dan what George, the original Bush, has to say, right?
All right.
Is our friend. For example, consider this. In the year 2000, if current trends continue, the average blue-collar annual wage in this country will be $568,000. Think what this inflated world of the future will mean. Most Americans will be millionaires. Everyone will feel like a big shot. Wouldn't you like to own a $4,000 suit and smoke a $75 cigar, drive a $600,000 car? I know I would. But what about people on fixed incomes? They have always been the true victims of inflation. That's why I will present to Congress the Inflation Maintenance Program, whereby the U.S. Treasury will make up any inflation cost losses through direct tax rebates to the public in cash. Now you may say, won't that cost a lot of money? Won't that increase the deficit? Sure it will. But so what? We'll just print more money. We have the papers, we have the mints. I can just call up the Bureau of Engraving and say, hi, this is Jimmer. Roll off some of them 20s. Print up a couple of thousand sheets of those century notes. Sure, the glut of dollars will cause even more inflation, but who cares? Everybody will be a millionaire.
Man, 30 years later.
30 years ago, that video, that's insane. 30 years ago, that video was done. And Instagram, I apologize if you couldn't hear that. We're going to fix that for you next week. But TikTok kind of got the ride on that train there. That was a SNL skit that was done 30 years ago about inflation. We'll just print some more of those. The Inflation Maintenance Program. Sounds a little bit like what's going on today, huh, Stephen? The Inflation Maintenance Program, cued off by COVID, the open hall pass to go out there and print unlimited amounts of money. And who's going to foot the bill?
Wow. The amount of SNL skits and Babylon Bee articles and things that actually do come true is just mind freaking blowing, man. It's like they're predictors of the future.
And it's like we talk about inflation, and maybe we're beating this one to death, but roll up those 20s. I mean, it's all government created, and it always has been, and it always will be. And now more than ever, they're trying to drive this because it just makes sense for the government. It doesn't make sense for you guys filling your cars up, which is why they're pushing this EV initiative. Folks, listen, like you all might be buying into this whole electric car thing and oh, everybody's going to have an electric car. We don't have the freaking infrastructure to support electric cars. You have everybody now buying electric cars. You let me know what that's going to do to the power grid. They don't have enough manpower to fix the power grid and to actually add enough charging stations in the next decade to support this absolutely insane initiative on what they're calling is save the world from the world's overheating. It's always been overheating, folks. Gosh, I can't remember who was that guy that did that. He was running for government, running for, I think, president. And he did that whole video series on the world and, climate control. Who was that? Do you remember? It was many years ago. I'm getting old, man. I'm getting old.
Al Gore, maybe?
Al Gore. There we go. See, Ben, of course, Ben's got it. He's got a photographic memory. Al Gore. Like, the world's been heating up since Al Gore, and now all of a sudden, now it's back on the radar. It's. Listen, I'm not saying we don't have climate control problems. I'm simply saying it's a government. It's just a big push for the government. That's all it is. Stephen, what do you got here? What are we playing?
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, because the question really becomes like, what do you do, right? Is inflation going to keep rolling? Are we going to get to hyperinflation like Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, says, or are people like Jim Cramer on MSNBC and CNBC stations that are telling us inflation is easing, believes the Fed's approach is right, that things are all going to be fine? Like, who do you believe? What do you do? Like, what do you do to protect yourself? And one thing I wanted to point out, because, we talked about this in the past, we like to point out what's going on because we not only like to kind of bitch and complain and have some fun with it, but more importantly, we like to provide solutions and how it actually can help you and your family into the future. So I just wanted to point out at 1 p.m. Eastern today, we're starting a 6-week series on the money multiplier and taking back control of your wealth. So make sure you join us at 1 p.m. today. You can go to chrisnaugle.com, go to Wealth Webinar Wednesday. We'll give you a free ebook for registering. If you can't make it live, we'll send you the recording in the next day or two. But get on there live if you can, because you'll ask questions, interact, and we're going to teach you how to start taking back control of your money and doing things like beating inflation, where if we stick with 6% inflation for a while, who cares? Because our money is outpacing it. So we're still beating 99% of other people out there. So make sure you join us today. And who are you going to believe? Are you going to believe the talking heads on TV or your own eyes that you're seeing at the gas pumps, you're seeing at the grocery stores, you're seeing when you can't go buy all these toys for your kids this Christmas? Who are you going to believe, them or yourself?
Ghostbusters. That's who you're going to believe. And it's interesting. A lot of people say, oh, you keep bitching about inflation. But what's the solution? It's easy, folks. Follow the 6 laws of wealth and move your money. First, you got to save money in order to move it. If you're not saving money, sorry, we can't help you. But if you're saving money, then you got to make that money go work for you by moving it. Listen, if you watch the Berkshire Hathaway meetings or you read any books, all of them are telling you your money has to be in motion. When your money's sitting, when you park your money at a bank and a CD and a money market, when you just leave it sit there, it is eroding to inflation. But Colorado here on TikTok is blowing up some comments that make so much sense. First off, Colorado_conservative said inflation is all about money the Fed is printing. He's absolutely correct. But then he goes on to say this. He says the only way to bring inflation down. So finally, somebody's got some solutions. So Colorado said the only way to bring inflation down is if the Fed increases interest rates to bring it into supply, bring money supply, back into, the world of reality. But here's the thing. Is the Fed going to raise interest rates? Well, if you kind of look at history and you look at Japan, the answer would be no. And the U.S. government said they never put themselves in the position that Japan did, but they are. They're there now. They really can't raise interest rates because they've got a crying baby. How many of you have kids? Say aye. Okay, if you have kids, you know what it's like. When your kid starts screaming, what do? You go take care of it. You give your kid something. Some of you just leave the kid and you're like, I'll stop crying. But, most of you, especially mothers, run in there and you coddle the baby. Well, in this situation, who is the baby? Wall Street. And who is the mother coddling the baby? Yellen and the government and the Fed. They're like, oh, don't cry, baby. Don't cry. We won't raise interest rates because we don't want you to cry. That's it. The crying baby is Wall Street. And if they raise interest rates, here's what will happen. Mark my word. you will crash the markets. But you know what? It doesn't fucking matter if you think that that's the only way the markets are going to crash. They're going to crash anyway. I don't care what any of you think. If you all think, oh, the government can just print money and the markets are never going to go down. I hear this shit every day. So do you, Stephen. And Ben, I'm sure you do too. The government's going to keep printing money. The markets are never going to come down. Crypto is going to keep going to the moon. You are all fucking delusional. Excuse my language, but there's no other way for me to fucking put it. You are losing your mind. You are buying into FOMO and you're delusional. You're literally believing a fucking lie. Man, I just said the F word a lot right there. Woo! I'm on fire today. But Colorado, thank you for your comment. You are absolutely right. And eventually, the Fed will have to raise rates because inflation is getting out of control. But when they do, all I can tell you is the inevitable will happen. You will crash the wine. The whining baby will absolutely continue to cry and will then eventually throw its toys on the ground and do what it always does.
And Chris, the Fed, Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, who was, the leader of the Fed up until two seconds ago, she came out over the weekend and, of course, like you're saying, they're going to stay away from raising rates and doing whatever would really actually help in the long run this country. But what they're saying now is the only way that we're going to lower inflation is by quashing COVID-19. And then on top of that, the Deputy Treasury Secretary came out yesterday and doubled down, saying prices are going to remain high until the COVID pandemic is over. So now we're back to blame every fucking thing on COVID.
Stupid political initiative. Unreal. Ben, you got to chime into this one, man, because I swore enough a little bit ago. So, take it to the next level. Is COVID the reason for prices being high?
Oh, I don't think so.
Maybe it's what kicked this whole thing off, but if we get COVID under control and all of a sudden they come up with a miraculous vaccine that all of a sudden nobody gets COVID anymore, that worked well, huh? If that actually were to happen, is inflation going to go back down? Is the cost of fuel going to go back to $2 when they stop the pipeline? Is your food that you buy going to go back down, to under 50%? Are your restaurants going to charge less? The protein shake that I get at the gym, is it going to go from $8 back down to $4? What do you think, Ben?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you've looked at the Baltic Dry Index, but it's like water falling right now, which is kind of concerning. We got the ships at ports. I don't think COVID has anything to do with the inflation. It led to the crash in March of 2020. And then, they started handing out all this free money and people pumped up the markets and the markets are still being pumped up.
I agree. I think it's just one giant political agenda. Listen, I was extremely hopeful when the vaccine came out that it was going to get things under control. But as of today, I can't count the number of friends I have, vaccinated friends that have COVID and have had serious COVID. And I know many people, okay, and these aren't people that I actually am friends with, but I know many people that have told me that people have died from COVID that were vaccinated. Yeah. So please explain to me, what is the solution to ending COVID? I think it's time, and I think it's being smart. It's the magic pill. It's always the red or blue pill, right?
That's fine. But from a policy standpoint, we have vaccinations. I know that there's the cases where people are, but for the most part, you're very, very, very protected from COVID with the vaccination. If you believe in natural immunity, you've already had it. Great. Pfizer now came out with a pill that reduces hospitalizations and deaths by 90-some percentage points.
Dude, that's freaking awesome.
Boosters are available now. They're giving it to kids now if you're worried about that. So we're done. What does zero COVID look like? It's not reasonable. It's destructive, and it's going to destroy this country. Literally, look what it's doing in China. China is quote unquote going for a zero COVID policy, right? So what does that look like in China? Besides the fact that they lie about everything that they do as far as numbers and all, let me just show you what zero COVID in China looks like. I'm not going to play this video because it's fucking disturbing, but the Chinese authorities beat a corgi, a little puppy dog, to death over the weekend, and it was caught on video because they thought the dog had COVID. So they literally took the thing and beat it with sticks. That's what zero tolerance, quote unquote, looks like. Is that what we want in this country? You tell me, Chris.
No, that's absolutely not what we want. That's sickness. But, you know, China's kind of a sick place where nobody really has any rights in. We don't even know what's going on there. You can't believe anything, including the numbers that come out of China. So it's pointless to even talk about China because we are in the greatest country on earth, the United States of fucking America. If you don't think this is the greatest country, the land of opportunity, the land of freedom, then get the fuck out. Why are you here? That's the thing I can't understand about all these people that say, oh, the United States is bad, burning flags and all this, man. Listen, when I was in high school, I was a scrapper. This nose has been broken 5 times. I am ready to fight for this country under that one thing, like not for COVID or any of this other crap. But you know what? For people that don't think this is the land of opportunity and don't want to see this remain the land of opportunity, like, listen, that's where I draw the line. And that's where I'd say I'm fighting for freedom. And because there's 2 people that have died to maintain this freedom.
All right, just a direct point to what you're saying, like the freedom we have are unbelievable. Even when it comes to the financial markets, I mean, the fact that we can openly open an app on our phone and trade stocks, trade cryptos. I mean, again, not talking about China, but they're shutting down trading of cryptos, of certain stocks, of what kids are allowed to do, things like that. We don't want to go that direction. But more importantly, how many times do we get calls booked with us every single day, emails sent to us, requests sent to us, wanting to open privatized banking policies, money multiplier policies, people from Europe, people from Australia, people from other countries. And guess what we tell them? We can't help them because they have such restrictive laws in those countries. They're not able to create and develop privatized banking policies. What are privatized banking policies? It's what's going to protect your wealth. It's what's going to help you outpace inflation. It's what's going to create generational legacies for you and your family. And that's what we're talking about today at 1 p.m. on the Wealth Webinar Wednesday. But people in other countries can't do it. It's the freedoms that we have here that Chris is talking about protecting right now that we need to keep, period.
Yeah, so many people, they think that we are oppressed and they have this victim mentality. Like I talked to someone the other day, they believe that we're in a caste system. Like you're stuck in your economic class based on your parents. Like they think that you can't, there's no opportunity. Like doesn't make any sense.
You know, it's sad, you know, and I kind of feel bad for people like that feel like we're stuck in the life that we live and the money that we have because of our family. I can't, there's no way I could ever accept that as reality because I know too many people that were born with nothing that have gone on to be wildly successful, and along their journey to becoming wildly successful and wealthy, they have brought an awful lot of people along with them. That's the beauty about, you know, creating wealth. All right, if you like that video, make sure you check out this video right now. And also don't forget, subscribe to my channel and don't ever forget to smash that alert button. We'll see you on the next one.